and welcome to a new video, and today we're taking a look at another cruise ship, the Queen Victoria of Cunard. And as always, I'd like to start with some general characteristics. The ship is 294 meters long and 32.3 meters wide. Had its maiden voyage in 2007 and can take up to 1,990 passengers. And her tonnage is about 90,049. We will start our ship tour as always on the lowest deck, and this is deck number 1. On deck number 1 we have the grand lobby, which is one of the main highlights of the ship already. Here on deck 1 we have the purser's office and the tour office, and of course also a bit of seating areas, but there's no bar itself, so this is just a plain seating area. If you want to read a book without having a drink or something, you can choose one of those seats here. But if you want to have a drink, you will have to go one deck higher to deck number 2, and that is what we are going to do now, because on deck 1 are, except from the grand lobby, only cabins, and in the front is a part of the Royal Court Theatre. But that we're gonna see from deck number 2. We start here in the middle of the ship with the veranda restaurant. The veranda is a steakhouse with a surcharge, so you need to pay for your dinner in this restaurant, but you will get a very high quality and it is worth the supplement. And if you're interested, you can see this in my next video. Here we have the lower deck of the library, one of the biggest libraries at sea, and in my opinion also one of the most beautiful ones, with a huge amount of books also in foreign languages, so there's a chance for everybody to find the right book. We will now walk to the front of the ship. Here we have one of the 3 main staircases. We have one in the back, one in the middle and one in the front, all with stairs and elevators. And we keep going to the front. Here on the right side we have the voyage sales office, so if you want to already book your next cruise with Cunard, you can do it here on your right side, the starboard side of the ship. And then we come to the Queen's Room, which is a big ballroom. Of course it's also just a normal lounge, as the concept and idea of Cunard is to keep the traditions alive of the former transatlantic liners. This ship, as you can see, has a unique design, and also it is keeping some traditions like the ballroom, and there are still many balls on the ship offered and also some dancing classes, so this ballroom is really also used for dancing. Additional to the classic design of the ship that is inspired by ocean liners, there are also a few more traditions that are kept. For example, there's a rather strict dress code. We have elegant gala evenings with a strict dress code, for example. And the idea of a first, second and third class is also kept alive on board in a, of course, reduced form. I will show it to you later on. Here we have the Golden Lion, which is a typical pub that of course cannot be missed on a British cruise ship. The language on board is English and you pay with pound sterling. But depending on where the ship is sailing, there are also other languages offered. For example, the menus in the restaurants and the daily program is also available in other languages. If the ship is, for example, starting in Germany, there are also German programs, but that's depending on where most of the passengers are from. But the main language on board is English. All announcements are made in English. We just left the casino in the Royal Arcade, and now we're coming to the Royal Court Theatre. It was still very dark in the theatre, so here we can see it just shortly before a show in the evening. You can see it's very elegant, maybe inspired by the Royal Albert Hall. In my opinion, one of the nicest theatres on a cruise ship. Here we have the casino again, as we are now heading to the back of the ship. We're going past the Golden Lion and the Queen's Room and coming back to the grand lobby. And here in the grand lobby on the starboard side we have the chart room, and a chart room that is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful lounges I've ever seen on a ship or in a hotel. It is a very nice combination of the style of an ocean liner and a 5-star hotel. And the best thing is it is not only looking very nice, it's also very comfortable. On many new ships you will find very nice looking lounges, but then they are not too comfortable. And here they managed to have a nice looking lounge that is comfortable as well. So based on looks, this will be my favorite lounge on board, but there is another one that I will show you later on that I like even a bit better. And now we're coming to the back of the ship, and here on the left side we have the Britannia Club restaurant, and in the back we have the Britannia restaurant. These are two of the main restaurants, but you will get assigned to one of them depending on which cabin category you've booked. If you book the standard cabin, you can go to the Britannia restaurant, which stretches over 2 decks and it's looking very nicely. And here you can see it. And if you booked a bit more expensive cabin, you could also use the Britannia Club restaurant. And if you book one of the suites, you could use the Queen's Grill or Princess Grill restaurant that are located in an exclusive area at deck 11. And this is what's left from the former class system on board. On the old transatlantic liners there was a first class, second class and a third class, and the passengers of each class were kept separate from each other. Of course this is not the case anymore, but to keep the traditions they kept this system with different classes, but it's based on your cabin category, and it's just like on many other cruise ships. There are just a few areas on the ship that are exclusively reserved for the guests of suites. Mainly these are the restaurants. And meanwhile we have seen all of deck 2 and we are now on deck 3, the last deck of the grand lobby. And here we have another small lounge, the midships lounge and bar, where you can have a drink as well. And from here we are now going to the front of the ship. On the right side we have the bookshop, which is also rather unique on a cruise ship, and then we keep on going to the art gallery, and from there we come to the rest of the shops. As the ship has only about 2,000 passengers, it is a rather small ship nowadays, but still it has a decent choice of shops. The first ones are here on the right side above the Queen's Room. We can also take a look down into the beautiful Queen's Room. Here on the right side you can see the first shops, and they have the typical offer. You can buy jewelry, watches, perfume, and of course also clothing. Here on the left side we have the Cunard logo shop, where you can buy some Cunard products. These are also very nice looking products, not just the simple and cheap merchandise, but also some very high quality products. And then here we are at the Royal Arcade, also a very nice looking area. And here on both sides you have some more shops, where you for example can also buy the Queen's Gin. For each and every Cunard ship there is an own gin that you can only buy here on board mostly. And if we keep on going to the front, we will end up in the Royal Court Theatre again, as we already saw it, and the lights were still turned off there. We will just leave it out now, as you already saw it from deck number 2. The lights were still turned off because I was, as always, making my ship tour in the very early morning around 6 o'clock. That's also why the ship appears to be empty. Of course it was not empty, but I prefer to walk around in the morning, so there are not too many people around, because otherwise, due to current laws, I would need to blur the faces of all visible persons. And to avoid this, I just like to make this ship too early in the morning. That's also why it's still dark outside, because we are now on the promenade. A very nice feature of the Queen Victoria is that it has a walk around promenade, which means that you can walk around the whole ship on the promenade in a circle, giving you the opportunity to have a nice walk on a sea day, for example. And as you can see, the promenade is not only used as a technical and security deck, it is also used as public area, and you have some classic deck chairs here available, so you can also take a seat here, which might be very nice if the wind is coming from a certain direction. You can go to the other side and sit outside even if it's a bit stormy or windy outside. We're now back inside and back at the grand lobby, and now we are walking to the back of the ship. But before we do this, we're gonna take a look here on the port side. Here we have the upper deck of the library. As you can see, also here we have a wide selection of books available, and then we keep on going to the back, and here we have a nice model of the Queen Victoria and a classic card room. Also, this is a room that you will not find on most modern cruise ships, but as Cunard likes to keep the traditions, we still have a typical card room available where you can play some games or do some puzzling. We now have to go to the other side to keep on going to the back, so we're going past the midships lounge again, also past the bar of the lounge, and here we can take one more look into the very beautiful atrium. And here we can see the midships lounge one more time. And then we are heading to the photo gallery. Usually there are pictures taken on embarkation and also in the ports in between, and you can buy them here in the photo gallery. There are also some photo shootings at the grand lobby, for example, and you can buy your pictures here in the photo gallery. What's very nice is you can not only buy prints, you can also buy a digital copy of your photo on a USB stick. You don't have to bring your own USB stick. A USB stick of Cunard is included in the price of the photo. If we would keep on going to the back, we would end up in the Britannia restaurant again. As I said, it is on 2 decks, and here we have the upper deck. But as it was still closed, we're going back on the promenade and walk around the restaurant. And here we can see that we are not only able to walk around in the front, we can also walk around in the back. And here we also have the very nice view over the stern wave. And we can also take a look into the Britannia restaurant, and as you can see, it looks exactly the same like the lower part of the Britannia restaurant. So we just keep on walking until we are back at the next entrance and go back inside. And now we have also seen all parts and public areas of deck 3, and that means that we can now go a bit higher, as the decks 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 are only cabin decks, so that means there are no public areas, only cabins. We can skip those decks and go directly to deck number 9, but before that we can take a look in the staircase, and those are also very interesting as they are decorated with paintings of the former Cunard ships. And now we are on deck number 9, the next deck with public areas. We are in the middle of the ship again. Here we can take a look into the Lido restaurant, which is the buffet restaurant on board, but we will take a closer look later on. We're now heading to the front of the ship, and the first area that we're gonna see is the winter garden. As the name implies, it is designed like a winter garden with a glass roof, and this roof is also a sliding roof, so if the ship is sailing in summer or in warmer areas, the roof can be opened, making this an outdoor area, and in winter or with cold weather, the roof can be closed and making the winter garden an indoor lounge. We are now heading outside, coming to the pool area. Here we have the main pool of the ship, the so-called pavilion pool, which is usually the more crowded pool as it is completely covered from the side, so it is windproof. It's coming also with 2 whirlpools. Of course, sun loungers are available as well. And if we keep on going to the front of the ship, we will see that there is another pool behind those windows, and this is a so-called hydro pool, and it's already part of the Mariel Spa area. Here you can play table tennis, and from here on in the front there is only the Mariel Spa and Fitness Center, which we cannot access at the moment as it's still closed. So we are heading up to deck number 10, and here we have some more public areas, lounges. Firstly, we have the Yacht Club, which is a lounge and a nightclub. I will show it to you during the day, as it was 6 in the morning, but still they were the last guests celebrating and dancing, so I didn't want to disturb them, so I came back later on. That's why there was daylight already. Now we're back at the regular ship tour and coming to my favorite lounge on board, and that is the Commodore Club. Before that, we have on the right side the Churchill's Cigar Lounge and the Admiral's Lounge. In the Cigar Lounge you may smoke, but only cigars, no cigarettes are allowed. And here we have the Commodore Club. It is not designed as nicely as the chart room, still looking very nice, but not as good as the chart room in my personal opinion, but it offers a perfect view over the bow, and you can really enjoy sitting here reading a book and watching the landscape or the ocean. So this is why this is my favorite lounge. And now we can go out again, taking a look at the sun deck here on deck 10, and we can also go up to deck 11, the highest deck that we can access here on the Queen Victoria, but we can only access it in the front. Deck 11 and 12 in the back are exclusively reserved for guests with a princess or a queen's suite. But the nice thing about the Queen Victoria is that the very nice areas in the front of the ship are accessible to all guests. Here we can go on the roof of the Yacht Club for a bit better view, and we can also go to the front of the ship to look over the bow. And as I said, this is something very unique about the Queen Victoria. Most new ships that have exclusive areas for suite guests have those exclusive areas here in the front, and the view over the bow is only enjoyable for a guest with an expensive suite. Here on this ship, all guests may enjoy this wonderful view, and they can even choose if they want to sit inside in the Commodore Club or to go outside and have this view here from the sun deck. And a sports court is available as well. That's why this deck is also called the sports deck. And we are now going back down to deck number 10, but before that we can take a look to the pavilion pool one more time here from deck 11 down to deck 9. And now we're going back on deck number 10 and walking all the way to the back of the ship past the pavilion pool. Of course, here are also some deck chairs and sun lounges available. And then in the back we have on deck 10 the zone and the play zone. These are the areas for teens and children. And above this on deck 11 and 12 are the exclusively reserved areas for the Queen's and Princess guests. So there is the Queen's restaurant and the Princess restaurant called Princess Grill and Queen's Grill, and also the Grill Lounge and an exclusive sun deck, which are not accessible for us, so I cannot show you this area as we just had a regular outside cabin. But I can show you the huge sun deck at the back of the ship on deck 10 and especially on deck 9. As you can see, it's very big with a lot of space. And here is another outdoor pool, the Lido pool, and this pool is also coming with 2 whirlpools, and there is a bar, the Lido bar, and even a restaurant, the Lido Grill. Before we're heading there, we're taking a look at the sun deck. Here we can see the stairs up to the whirlpool and to the Lido pool, and we can also take a look right at the end of the sun deck down. And as you can see, you have a perfect view over the sternwave. Of course, now it's still dark, but during the day this is also a very nice place. And now we have already seen almost everything of the ship. Here you can see the Lido Grill. And now we're going back to the Lido restaurant, which I just briefly showed to you. And here we can take a closer look. Here we can see the buffet area and the seating area. And as you can see, It is not look like a canteen like on other ships, but it is looking very, very elegant and comfortable. And here we have the main buffet area, and this is already it. I showed you all public areas of the Queen Victoria that were accessible for me. I hope this was interesting for you, maybe also helpful if you're thinking about booking a cruise on the Queen Victoria. Here you can see the name of the song, and when my next video will be uploaded, this will be a video about our short cruise on board the ship, so you will also see the cabins and the life on board. So make sure to hit the subscribe button to not miss this video, and as always I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider to comment, like, subscribe or share a video link, and I hope to see you in my next video.